I'll admit right now, Bronco Nation, I am a little bit speechless. I know this news has been out for a few hours already, but I'm working nights, so I only just woke up a couple hours ago and saw this, and that was the first thing I saw when I woke my eyes was a text from one of my friends saying Andy Avalos has been fired. And I don't know how all of you are reacting to this news, but I can tell you that personally, I was absolutely shocked. I sat right up in bed and this flood of emotions and feelings and confusion about what is coming next rushed over me, and I'm sure that feeling happened to a lot of you when you read this news. This is not something that nobody saw coming necessarily, but it was something that people thought was going to happen at a later point. Even people who were advocating for Avalos to be removed expected it to happen most likely at the end of the season. And a lot of people, a lot of professional reporters and analysts for Boise State media were projecting this to happen next season, to at least give him one more year based on the supposed strong ties between Andy Avalos and the boosters and the locker room. Now, I thought that those were all over projected, that those ties were not as strong as they were made out to be, and I did expect a change to happen sooner than a lot of people were projecting. And I've been advocating for an immediate coaching change since the Memphis game. I've said that since the Memphis game, that was the decision point that said we needed a new head coach since that game. And I've been advocating in every one of my game videos since then that we needed a new head coach. And just 3 weeks ago, I put out a video saying who will be the next head coach at Boise State, looking at all the top candidates. And I would encourage all of you to go watch that video right now, because that is going to lay out completely all the top candidates that I think are going to be in line to take over Andy Avalos' job. And my opinion on those candidates has not changed at all. So I would highly recommend that all of you go and watch that video. But in this video, I'm going to talk about my reaction to this. I'm going to look at why now. I mean, the timing is interesting. We just won a game, right? We're 5-5, and there's some other things on the horizon. So why now? What is next? And who is next? We're going to look at all of those questions in this video. So right now, the reaction, right? Boise State fires Andy Avalos, a blue blood, a former player, a beloved player for Boise State, a former defensive coordinator. There are few players, few people out there on this planet who bleed blue more than Andy Avalos, and he has been terminated from the program that he loves. And the first reaction for those who have been pushing for this, you might think would be elation. And I have been pushing for this. I've been advocating for this. At the end of my review video for the game versus New Mexico, I talked about some of the positive changes that Boise State made, but I said this doesn't change anything. You can't have a game-to-game mindset. You have to have a big picture mindset, and this one game versus New Mexico changes nothing. Similar mistakes made in previous games were made. It was shown that changes that could have been made sooner, that would have won us more games, were not made, that they would have worked if implemented, and that a head coaching change was still needed. I said that in my review video at the end of the review video for my video versus Boise State versus New Mexico. So I've been pushing this. So you may expect that people who have been advocating for this, and it's been a larger and larger portion of the fan base, for the reaction right now to be elation. But I hope that I speak for a lot of people that it's not. And for me personally, it is not. I am not happy by this news. Now, I want to clarify that this is the right move, that I am happy that the move was made, but I am not happy that the move had to be made. This is a devastating point for Bronco Nation right now. A beloved player, former player, a beloved member of the Boise State community had to be terminated from a job simply because of business reasons. There is nothing personal in this. There's absolutely nothing personal. I have no animosity, and I hope that Bronco Nation has zero animosity against Andy Avalos. He came in and he did the best job that he could. He didn't intentionally create the state of affairs in this program. It's just that some people are just not cut out for certain positions. Great player, great defensive coordinator, great recruiter, just not a good head coach. And so for it to have to end this way is devastating. And I, for one, I mean, that's why it's such a mixture of emotions, because on the one hand, this is a great move. This is the move that needed to happen. But on the other hand, it is such a devastating point that this had happened. Boise State has never fired a head coach in their FBS history. So for Boise State, this is a major, major moment where Jeremiah Dickey is stepping up and making a breaking decision to fire a head coach. And again, it is the right decision to do this in this moment. But the boldness to make this move is part of the reason why I am happy by this decision. The fact that Jeremiah Dickey is proving to be the athletic director that we all thought that he was and that we knew that he was, an athletic director that is not just content with mediocrity, that is not just content with being a mid-level program, that wants Boise State to be elite, to achieve at the highest level of success, and expects that from its program, expects that from the coaches of the programs that he oversees. The fact that he proved to be that athletic director that we all knew that he was has got to fill Bronco Nation with hope and expectation for the future. The future is incredibly bright for Boise State, and I have full trust and confidence in the direction of Boise State because of Jeremiah Dickey. This move took guts, it took boldness, and it took a willingness to go down in the history of Boise State as something that very few have done. Firing a head coach of any program at Boise State is a rarity usually, and especially for their football program. This is a massive move by Jeremiah Dickey, but is the right one in the right direction, and it sends the message that Boise State is an elite institution. Elite schools do not accept 5-5 records. They do not accept 3 years of mediocrity and downward trends. Elite institutions expect success year after year, regardless of who's in charge. They'll give you a couple seasons to rebuild and to get your feet under you. But if you're not having success by that third season, they're going to be looking for other options. That's what elite universities do. That's what Power 5 universities do. And Boise State is a Power 5 school trapped in a Group of 5 conference, and they have been for a long time. And this proves that Boise State is still that university, that they see themselves as that university. And in the world of college football, that is what's most important. It's about how you define yourself and what steps you take to put yourself on a path to proving that definition true. And this is a definite proof that Boise State is still, even though they haven't played like it recently, that they are still an elite university in the country and in the Group of 5, because they just fired a head coach that was going to probably get them to bowl eligibility. But that is not enough. Now, why now? Why now? Well, this question kind of leads into that statement that that's not enough. Boise State still has a path to a Mountain West Championship game right now. And after the losses this weekend to Fresno State and Air Force, that path, while still, I don't think, likely, became more realistic. Fresno State just has to lose one more game, and Boise State has to win out, and they're in the Mountain West Championship game. Not completely within the control of their own destiny, but, Fresno State still got to play New Mexico, who should be a win, but San Diego State as well, which can go either way. They just lost to San Jose State. Boise State could end up in a Mountain West Championship game. They're going to almost definitely, I won't say almost definitely, because they have to play Utah State and they have to play Air Force, but if they can beat one of those two teams, they will end up in a bowl game. Their goal of a bowl game, which their school, if you look in their team briefing room on their wall, it defines their season goals as a Mountain West Championship and a bowl game. Again, both of those things are within their grasp. They can still achieve both of those things. But while that might be what the team tells itself, that is not what the fans' goals are for this program. And I don't truly believe that that is what the school's goals for its program are either. The team's goals are either. They might say Mountain West Championship and a bowl game, but truly what their goals are to be among the elite schools in college football, to compete for the highest level possible available to them in the Group of 5, and moving forward into next season with a chance at the playoffs, to be a contender for New Year's Sixes and for playoffs. That is the expectation at Boise State. Regardless of what it says on the wall, that is the expectation for Boise State, and this shows that that is still the expectation. You beat a New Mexico team on the blue, the biggest win of the season for Boise State, 42-14, and the head coach gets fired. That sends a message that it's not just about beating teams like New Mexico. That's not just about getting to 5-5 records and to a lousy bowl game. And I don't like saying lousy because I think all bowl games are important, but you get the message. It's not a New Year's Six. It's not an elite level. It's going to be against some lower level team, probably from, Conference USA or the MAC or something like that, that is not up to Boise State standards of success. That sends the message. Firing a head coach after a win like that sends the message that it doesn't matter if you beat the lower level teams. You're supposed to beat the Memphises. You're supposed to beat the UCFs. You definitely shouldn't be losing in conference to teams like Colorado State and Fresno State consistently throughout the seasons. Boise State deserves and expects better, and that is a message Jeremiah Dickey has sent. He is also setting the tone with this decision that this was not a knee-jerk move. If Andy Avalos is fired after a loss, the impression is that he got fired because of that loss, and that it will be part of the storyline. But the truth is that Andy Avalos was fired because of the 5 losses previous to this game. Maybe 4 losses previous, because you can't really fault him for Washington. But the 4 losses previous to this game and the 3 seasons before that, going 7-5 the first season with a roster that was in the Mountain West Championship game the year before and in the top 25 preseason and through the season, in the top 25 the year before, only lost 2 games, again, COVID year, but year before that, 2019 won the Mountain West Championship game, was in the top 25, was a contender for New Year's Six, and you take that team, you go 7-5. And then the year after that, you're headed for 7-5 again before Dirk Cutter miraculously rescues this program. But it's Dirk Cutter who does that. And then he leaves, and now you're headed for, again, at best, 7-5. That is not acceptable. That's why Andy Avalos got fired. He didn't get fired because he lost to Fresno State. He didn't even get fired because he lost to Colorado State. He got fired because of all of those losses combined together and the reasons why Boise State lost those games, which I've gone into in depth, and I go into in further depth in my Who Should Be the Next Head Coach at Boise State. So for Andy Avalos, getting fired after the New Mexico win shows that this is not a knee-jerk decision, that this is a decision that Jeremiah Dickey has made before this game. This is a decision that he has made a while ago, that this decision was made before the matchup happened, and that this is not just a simple reactionary firing, that this is not just reacting to a moment, that there is a plan to move Boise State forward right now. It also allows Andy Avalos the courtesy of going out on a win. I mean, that's always a great moment. And this is the right decision. To fire him after the New Mexico game allows him to go out and win. Utah State is a 50-50 game, and Air Force, they just lost to Hawaii, so who knows what's going to happen in that game. But, I mean, more than likely, with the trend data, that would probably be a loss. So you don't have that many potential wins left on the season. And this allows Andy Avalos to go out with a win, to have the courtesy of having an even record. He is still allowed to leave with his head held high, and he deserves that. Like I said, Andy Avalos has put so much into this program, and you did not want it to end this way. And the reason that he was given such a long time through multiple mistakes this season to be given a chance to correct himself was because of the love that this community has for Andy Avalos. And so you wanted him to have that chance to leave with his head held high on a win, being able to look back on the positive moments that he was able to bring to this program. And the final point is that this allows Boise State to beat signing day. The early signing period is December 20th to 22nd, and then pushing through to January 15th for the JC transfers. But the early signing period is December 20th. Boise State, I think, based on what has happened so far this season, based on the mood in the locker room, based on what's being talked about, based on the fact that Aaron McAllister transferred out, all of those factors were leading me to think that Boise State was likely to potentially lose a lot of these recruits and also potentially lose a lot of their star players in the transfer portal. Boise State doing this move now gives them a solid 5 weeks to find a new head coach before early signing period. That is going to be so important for Boise State wanting to build towards 2024 and beyond. If they want to set this roster up for success, first off, they're going to need to know who's still going to be on this roster. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of a period here where players make their own decisions. I mean, players come to a school in part because of the coach that recruited them to come there. So there's going to be some decision points here. You're going to find out which players are truly committed to the program and which players were more committed to the coach and whether or not they want to stick around. So you're going to have a better idea of what you need to go after potentially prior to early signing period, maybe some holes that you need to fill, and what your roster is going to look like for the next guy that's coming in. It also gives you that ability, like I said, to be able to lock in a new head coach before signing period and maybe keep some of those players from leaving the roster in the first place. If this decision can be made quickly, it will allow Boise State to shore up the program, to show that the future is bright, that there are high expectations on the horizon, and this is a program you want to stick with. which was not the case with the previous head coach with Andy Avalos. That was not with the direction that Boise State was moving. Now they have a chance to flip the script and say the story has changed, that we are now moving towards a brighter future. And this allows Boise State to do that, making this decision early. So there's a lot of factors that came into why now, why mid-season, why not wait to the end, why come after a win. All of those factors, I think, are easily explained by what I've just laid out. In Boise State's the expectation not being just those wins in the 5-5 record. Jeremiah Dickey showing that this decision was a long-term, big-picture decision, allowing Andy Avalos to leave with the courtesy of a win, and allowing Boise State to lock in a new head coach before signing day versus signing new players, a lot of uncertainty on the horizon, still a lot of rumors going around. Will Andy Avalos be fired? Will he not? If he is staying, what's the direction of this program? Those rumors are now squashed. Now the big question is, who's the next head coach? But at least you have a chance to run the story yourself. You can put a new head coach in the position, and you get to now direct the future of this program versus leaving it up to the rumor mill of what will this program look like with a head coach who has shown the first 3 seasons that he's just not up to the task. So what's next? What's next for Boise State right now? Well, I expect a new head coach to be hired within the next 4 weeks. Jeremiah Dickey is not a person to make knee-jerk decisions or to do things on the fly. He is a person who comes in with detailed plans. He's very detail-oriented. He has a great staff and a great team around him, and he doesn't just approach situations without a backup plan in place. Obviously, right now, Spencer Danielson has been elevated to be the interim head coach, but he's not the long-term direction of this program. And Jeremiah Dickey has somebody in mind right now that he is wanting to target, and he has probably already had a couple people that he has potentially at least put out feelers to. Boise State announcing today that the national head coaching search has commenced, but I would expect that there would have already been some form of conversation already. I'm not saying that we'll have a new head coach in a week. I mean, it could happen, but I don't expect that. But I do expect that in the next 4 weeks, Jeremiah Dickey has already put a plan in motion that's now officially in motion that will come to its fruition within the next 4 weeks with a new head coaching hire. Now, remember, yes, Andy Avalos was technically Jeremiah Dickey's hire, but he was hired a week after Jeremiah Dickey was hired. So really, this was Trump's hire and the committee that she put together. Jeremiah Dickey just came on board, and they were in a position where they needed a new head coach then, and he just accepted the recommendation of the committee that had already put that position, that offer on the table. This is really his first chance to hire a head coach, to make the decisions himself, to put the feelers out, to go and vet the resumes. This is his first chance, and he knows what this program needs. He's not brand new. He's not a week into this program when he's making this decision. He's now been with this program for 3 years and is now making an educated decision based on what he knows about Boise State and its culture. And I'm going to tell you, I have 100% faith and confidence in that decision-making process by Jeremiah Dickey. Almost every single thing that he has done with Boise State has been absolutely spot on. Now, I'm not going to agree with every person on every single thing they do. I don't like the fact that we're not playing teams east of the Mississippi. That's a big point of contention. But other than that, everything else that Jeremiah Dickey has done, he has done in the right way, and he's made the right decisions. He's one of the most incredible athletic directors I've ever seen at Boise State, and he is putting this program on the right track. And so this decision by Jeremiah Dickey is going to be a major one. It's going to be program defining, but we could not be in better hands. This is not a athletic director that is looking at Boise State as some mid-lower level group of 5 program. He looks at them as an elite school, and he is going to bring on a head coach that will get Boise State back to an elite level. Now, I obviously have my own thoughts on who that might or should be, but ultimately it's going to be Jeremiah Dickey's decision, and I 100% trust that decision-making process. So, who should this next head coach be? Well, I kind of lied at the beginning of my video. I said I discussed the question. Well, I've just discussed it. If you want to find out my answer on who I think that next head coach should be, you're going to have to watch my video that I did. Very, very detailed, in-depth video where I lay out all the top candidates for the Boise State head coaching job, at least the top candidates that I think are going to be looked at or have been mentioned or been in the process thrown around as a potential replacement for Andy Avalos, all those top head coaching candidates, and then the one that I think should be selected based on all the factors that I have available. But again, at the end of the day, Jeremiah Dickey is going to make his own decision, and based on everything that he's done so far with this program, the direction he's put this program on, I have 100% faith that that decision is going to be the right one. Now, This is a weird point. This is my 4th season of doing these videos with Boise State, and I definitely did not expect that in 4 seasons I would be reacting to 2 coaching changes, 2 head coaching changes at Boise State football. That just doesn't happen. So I'm hoping that this is the last video I have to make of this nature for a while here for this program. Hopefully I've got another 4 or 5 years before I have to make another video like this. But this is going to be an interesting step for Boise State, and this decision will change the tide of Boise State history. Whether that tide is to move forward and up into the remaining within the elite echelons of college football, being part of the new potential breakaway and expansion movements of college football, or put Boise State on a trajectory to becoming a program that is only known for a gimmicky blue turf. This decision point, everything in NCAA, when you're talking about national prestige, runs through your football program. So this decision point is going to be a major one. The pressure and stakes could not be higher on Jeremiah Dickey. But like I said, if there was any man that I trusted to handle this task, it's him. So good luck. Make the right choice. We know that you will. We're all counting on you. We have faith in you in this one. And like I said, Boise State could not be in better hands. Jeremiah Dickey, the floor is yours. Thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe. And as always, win or lose, regardless of who the head coach is, regardless of who the interim head coach is, go Big Blue!